Hi everyone! Today we're going to be talking about characters in a book or story or informational text, and we're going to read a book called Suki's Kimono. So first let's talk about characters. Well, who are characters? Characters are people, animals, or things a story is about. So we have to look for clues as readers in the words and pictures to get to know our characters. Right? The author will tell us everything we need to know. We just have to read. Okay? So they're going to tell us what. The author is going to describe what characters look like and what they feel, think, say, and do. Right? All we have to do is read to figure out what our characters like, dislike, who they're related to, who they're friends with, right? And the author also tells us why the characters do what they do. Right? We need to think about the reasons for our characters' actions. Okay? So those details in the story can help readers understand why characters do what they do. So we're going to practice describing characters and the reasons for their actions while you listen to me read aloud Suki's Kimono. So here's our book, Suki's Kimono. And this little jacket thing is her kimono. So this book is by Sherry Ugaki and Stephanie Yorish. Right, those are our authors. Those are who are writing our book. Suki's Kimono. On the first day of school, Suki wanted to wear her kimono. Her sisters did not approve. "You can't wear that," said Mary. "People will think you're weird." "You can't wear that," said Yumi. "Everyone will laugh and no one will play with you." "You need something new, Suki. You need something cool." But Suki shook her head. She didn't care for new. She didn't care for cool. She wanted to wear her favorite thing, and her favorite thing was her kimono. Suki's obachan had given her the kimono. The first time Suki wore it, her obachan took her to a street festival, where they slurped bowls of slippery, cold soma noodles and shared a cone of crunchy, shaved ice topped with sweet red bean sauce. So this is her obachan, or her grandma. So let's start diving into our characters. Well, Suki is our main character, right? This book is about her. So, what does Suki want to wear to school? And why does she want to wear it? Wow, that's a really pretty picture. Under strings of paper lanterns, Suki joined her obachan in a circle dance. She followed her and copied her movements, trying to be as light and as graceful. She watched the other women and children who danced, especially those who were dressed in cotton kimonos like her. Later, Suki sat so close to the stage that when the taiko drummers performed bum, 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 she felt like she'd swallowed a ball of thunder and her whole insides quaked and quivered. Before they left the festival, Suki and her obachan stopped at the souvenir stand. There were many things to choose from, but her obachan found the prettiest thing of all, a handkerchief of pale pink linen, decorated with tiny maple leaves and cherry blossoms. When she gave it to Suki, she said, "This will help you remember our day." Now it was time for school. Mother checked Suki's obi one last time and took a picture of Mary, Yumi, and Suki together by the front steps. Then, as she watched, the three sisters made their way down the block to their school. Mary and Yumi stayed several paces ahead of Suki and pretended they didn't know her. But Suki didn't mind. She turned and waved to her mother before she clip-clopped along in her shiny red geta, feeling very pleased by her fan-patterned blue kimono. And geta, her shiny red geta, are her shoes, her clogs. All right, so why do Suki's sisters pretend that they don't know her? That's not very nice, is it, to pretend that you don't know your sister? Once in a while, Suki would lift her arms and let the butterfly sleeves flutter in the breeze. It made her feel like she'd grown her own set of wings. Look at her. Look, sister's nowhere to be found. When they reached the school, Mary and Yumi hurried across the yard to a group of their friends. Suki stopped and looked around. Some of the children turned and stared at her, and others giggled and pointed at her kimono. But Suki ignored them. She took a seat on a swing to wait for the bell. A girl dressed in overalls, just like a pair Suki had at home, sat on the swings beside her. "Hi, Suki," said the girl. "Hi, Penny." So why are all of the kids staring at Suki and laughing at her kimono? What do you think? So it's probably because she looks a little bit different, doesn't she? Sometimes people laugh and make fun of people when they don't look like everyone else, and that's not always very fair. "How come you're dressed so funny?" Penny asked. "Where did you get those shoes?" Suki lifted her feet off the sand and wiggled her toes. "I'm not dressed funny," she said. "My grandma gave me these shoes." Suki started pumping her legs. After a moment, Penny did the same, and soon they were both swinging as fast and as high as they could. Swoosh, swoosh, up and up. When the bell rang, Suki and Penny jumped off their swings and ran to the gym for the first day assembly. Once they were finally taken to their new classroom, Suki chose a desk near the window. Penny chose a desk next to Suki. As they waited for everyone to find a seat, two boys in front of Suki turned and snickered behind their heads. One of the boys reached over and snatched at Suki's sleeve. "Look at this," he said. "She's a bat." Suki felt her cheeks burn, but she did not respond. Instead, she concentrated on sitting up straight and tall, the way her obachan always did. It was easy to do with an obi wrapped snug around her middle. Her obi was golden yellow and in folds. Suki had tucked away her pale pink handkerchiefs. "Welcome to the first grade," said the teacher. "My name is Miss Paggio," she smiled. "Let's introduce ourselves and tell everyone what we did this summer." So, there's a word in here we don't know. She said it was easy to do with an obi wrapped snug around her middle. Her obi was golden yellow, and in its folds Suki had tucked away her pale pink handkerchief. So what do you think an obi is? And how do you know? What makes you think that? When it was her turn to speak, Suki stood up and told the teacher her name. "Hello, Suki," said Miss Paggio. "What did you do this summer?" "My grandma visited us," she said, straightening her sleeves. "She brought me my kimono and my geta." Suki raised her foot to show the teacher her wooden clog. Remember, a geta. Right here is her shoes, her red clogs. Somewhere in the classroom, someone laughed, but Suki took a deep breath and continued. "The best thing was that she took me to a festival, and there were dancing girls dressed like me. And they danced like this." She took a few steps and swayed her arms sideways. Look, they're all looking at her. We've got some smiles on their faces. Let's see. Look, now she's dancing," someone said, but Suki didn't hear. She hummed the music she remembered hearing at the festival. She remembered how it felt to dance barefoot in the open air on fresh-cut grass that tickled her toes. She tried to picture the other dancers, how they moved forward in the circle with the rhythm of the music, how they stamped their feet, first right, then left, swung their arms, first up, then down, how they stepped back and back and back, then clapped. When Suki couldn't remember the next step, she made it up, just to keep dancing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, stop. When she finished, the room seemed very quiet. Everyone was watching her. Suki sat down, wondering if she was in trouble. But Mrs. Paggio said, "That was wonderful, Suki!" And she started to clap. Then so did Penny. And after a moment, so did the entire class. So, from what we've read and the looks on these children's faces, how do the children's feelings change after they watch Suki dance? Remember, they were making fun of her before. So how do they feel now? They look to be a little bit happier, right? They look like they like her now, and they're not going to make fun of her, and they're being nice, right? They're clapping for her. After school, as the three sisters walked home together, Mary and Yumi grumbled about their first day. "No one even noticed my new sweater," said Mary. "No one even noticed my cool shoes," said Yumi. But Suki just smiled. As she clip-clopped along behind them, Suki pulled out the pale pink handkerchief from her obi and held it up over her head to catch the wind. And in her blue cotton kimono and in her shiny red geta, Suki danced all the way home. Wow, I really like that book. So let's go back and talk about some things real quick. I want to go back to the very beginning. All right. So let's look at this page. So how are Suki's clothes different from her sister's clothes? So let's look at the sisters first. This is probably more like something we would wear to school, right? A dress or maybe a shirt and skirt with shoes, just like everyone else, right? Well, let's look at Suki's outfit. She's wearing a kimono. You don't see a lot of kimonos, do you? And her obi and red clogs, well, not a lot of people wear those. So how does that make Suki feel to wear something different? How does it make her sisters, Mary and Yumi, feel? How do you know? What makes you think that they feel that way? So these are some questions to help you understand the characters, right? So Suki doesn't seem bothered by wearing something different, right? She's got a smile on her face. She's happy dancing around. She doesn't mind. Look at her sisters. They're giving her kind of a side glance, like, she shouldn't be wearing that. That's not like everyone else, right? They even say, you need something new. You need something cool. So maybe they don't really like what she's wearing. Okay, let's go a little bit further. Okay. So, this is when she meets her friend Penny, right? What does Penny think of her clothes? So Penny even asks her, she says, how come you're dressed so funny? Right? And then Suki's like, I'm not dressed funny. So Penny already notices what she's wearing, right? Thinks it's kind of funny looking. Well, then she sits next to her in class. Why do you think she sits next to her? So, I think Penny wants to be Suki's friend. She might think what she's wearing is funny, but I bet you she likes Suki, and she sat next to her because she wants to be nice. All right, let's go to the very end of the book and look at more into our characters. So, this is the last page. So, what words, after reading the book and talking more about Suki as a character, what words would you use to describe Suki? Give me 3 words. After you think of those 3 words, what details in the story help you understand what Suki is like and why she wore her kimono? So what parts of the story help you understand that? Why did Suki wear her kimono to school, right? What is Suki like as a person? Well, thank you so much for reading this book with me. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And remember, if you want to reread it, it's on Schoology. I'll see y'all later.